welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to step into the courtroom for a case that's almost 3,000 years old. The people versus the failed vineyard. The charge? A pretty shocking breach of contract, presented not as some dry legal brief, but as a powerful, poetic song. So, what can a 2,700-year-old poem about a failed vineyard possibly teach us about justice? I know, it sounds a little weird, right? But the answer is at the absolute heart of this ancient lawsuit. This isn't just a story about grapes. It's a full-blown indictment that makes us ask some really tough questions. Questions about prosperity, responsibility, and what truly makes a society just. So let's open the case file and examine the evidence. All right, so every good case starts with the scene of the crime. For this one, we've got to travel back in time to the southern kingdom of Judah, during what looked, at least on the surface, like a total golden age. Now, if you look at this timeline, you can see the kingdom was actually doing pretty well. They were enjoying real stability, serious economic growth, especially under King Uzziah. I mean, the official reports, the national stats, they would have looked fantastic. But our key witness, the prophet Isaiah, is on the scene, and he sees something else entirely. He sees this deep corruption hiding just beneath that shiny, prosperous surface. And wow, this slide just lays it all out, doesn't it? This is the core of the prosecution's case. On the left, you've got the public face of Judah, wealthy, stable, strong. But on the right, you see the grim reality that Isaiah was witnessing. A society that was literally rotting from the inside out, totally hollowed out by injustice, corruption at the highest levels, and a religion that had just become an empty show. It's a classic case of appearances being dangerously deceiving. Okay, so now we get to the star exhibit, the central piece of evidence in this entire lawsuit. And it's not a document, it's not a witness testimony, it's a song. A powerful, heartbreaking song of disappointment that Isaiah brings before the court. So the prosecution, in this case, the Lord, kicks things off by just laying out the facts of the case. And listen, these facts aren't in dispute. He testifies that he acted like a loving owner, and he did absolutely everything possible for his vineyard. He chose the most fertile hill, he cleared all the stones, he planted the absolute best vines. I mean, every single detail was handled with incredible, meticulous care. Now, to really get what's happening here, we have to kind of decode this whole allegory. As you can see, the vineyard, that's the nation of Judah. The owner is God, and all that amazing, meticulous care, well, that represents their agreement. He gave them a promised land, a set of just laws, and his divine protection. And in return, the expected harvest, the fruit he was looking for, well, it was super specific: justice and righteousness. And that, right there, is the million-dollar question of the whole trial, isn't it? After all that investment, all that loving care and preparation, what did the owner actually find when he came to collect the harvest? And boom, here's the answer. Look at this contrast. The owner expected mishpat, the Hebrew word for justice, but all he found was mispach, bloodshed. He expected tzedakah, or righteousness, but all he heard was tzeyakah, the cry of the oppressed. This incredible wordplay isn't just some clever poetry, folks. This is the accusation. The harvest wasn't just bad, it was the rotten, twisted, polar opposite of what was promised. So this total crop failure, it now becomes the basis for a formal indictment. The prosecution doesn't just stop at a general complaint. No, it lays out 6 specific charges, or woes, that detail the systemic corruption of the nation's leadership. And here they are, the 6 charges in the indictment. First up, greed. The wealthy elite were just gobbling up the land of the poor. Second, indifference. The ruling class was just lost in their own parties and pleasure, totally deaf to the suffering around them. From there, it gets worse. They move to open defiance of God, and then to this sickening moral relativism, literally calling evil good and good evil. And what fuels all this? A pride so deep they think they're untouchable. And it all leads to the final charge, corruption, where the entire justice system is up for sale. The prosecution is basically saying, this isn't a few bad apples, the whole barrel is rotten. Okay, so we've seen the evidence, we've heard the charges. Now let's talk about the legal basis for the verdict. Why is the vineyard owner even justified in his judgment? Well, it all comes back to the original contract. The whole legal framework for this case, it all hinges on this one big idea, the covenant. Think of it as a binding agreement between God and the nation of Judah. And the terms were crystal clear, laid out way back in texts like Deuteronomy. If you follow the agreement, if you produce that fruit of justice and righteousness, you'll be blessed. But if you willfully break that contract, there are going to be consequences. So Judah's failure, it wasn't because they didn't know the rules. It was a willful, flagrant breach of contract. So you can guess what happens next. The verdict is guilty. And the sentence, well, it's severe. The owner says he's going to tear down the vineyard's protective walls and just let it be trampled. Now, in real-world terms, this means judgment is coming, and it's coming at the hands of foreign armies, most likely Assyria. And that outward prosperity the nation was so proud of, it's going to be replaced by darkness and total desolation. So, case closed. But why are we digging up this, almost 3,000-year-old case file today? What's the lasting takeaway? Why does this ancient legal drama still hit so hard? Well, when you break it down like this, you see that the principles of this case are just timeless. It all starts with this immense divine care and investment. It pivots on a tragic human failure to produce the right kind of fruit. The core legal principle here is moral accountability. Great privilege always comes with great responsibility. And the final ruling? It's a stark reminder that while God's patience is vast, it isn't infinite. In the end, accountability is absolutely inescapable. And that leaves us with one last big question to chew on, doesn't it? Isaiah judged his society not by its GDP or its military might, but by its fruit, by whether he saw justice or bloodshed, righteousness or the cries of the oppressed. So if we were to apply that exact same standard to our world today, what kind of fruit would we see? What are the bad fruits that reveal the true health of a society?